All set? All set? Okay. For the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A little different tonight. We can be seated. I'm going to do this sitting down. You okay? Okay. So I've asked everyone to sit down. Normally we stand during this time, but I want us to remember, as we always do, our armed forces that are here with us in this country and all those that are deployed and their families who are left back home. We need to do that often, so tonight we do that. Locally, we lost a few residents. So I'll name them as I know. Mary Nicola, Darlene Doppler, whose son is a Highland Falls fireman, a very young lady. Virginia Gugliato, Kyle Kingsley, Max Stropel, and Tony Pisa. So we send our sympathy to their families, their friends. And for Tony Pisa, many will remember his name, and him himself, of course. He retired. I need to mention these things about Tony because he was an employee of the village. So he retired from the Army at Sergeant First Class in 1975. He retired from the Highland Falls Police Department in 1997 as a sergeant. He lived in this community, actually across the street from me, for 40 years. Thursday will be his funeral in Ohio. And in the near future, when his daughter comes back here, Gina, who used to be our head dispatcher, we will do a living memorial for him, which is planting of a tree and a plaque under the tree in memory of Sergeant Pisa. So that'll be in the future. The flags are at half-staff for that reason. Is there any public comment on agenda items? And one of the agenda items that's not on here, if anyone wants to make a comment now, is the Old Guard Hotel. Being there's no public comment on agenda items. So I want to introduce someone tonight, and I'm going to do this once a month at either the first meeting or the third or the second meeting of the month. I want to introduce new business owners, and we have several that will come to our village board meetings, and they will have a couple of minutes to talk about their new store, what they're selling, about themselves. And when we get done with the new owners, we'll start with those that have been on Main Street. They'll be asked if they want to come once a month, one business a month. So I'd like to introduce Megan. If you could come up to the microphone, talk about you and your husband and what you're going to do and provide the community.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
1 second. Can you tell if she's loud enough?
Yeah, she's loud enough.
She's loud enough. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that's even better. Hi, my name is Megan Retzel. I am the co-owner of Pavanine Yoga, which is across the street. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. The other owner is my husband, Jason Warner. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. But anyway, we're just really excited to be offering yoga to the Highland Falls community and the West Point community as well. We're planning classes for children as well as adults. Children's classes start in September and adult classes start on August 18th. That's a Saturday. And we are also hosting an opening, a grand opening reception this Friday, August 10th from 4 to 6. It's an open house. So I invite everyone to come and celebrate with us. And again, it's Pavanine. I know people have had some trouble with the name. Pavanine. Feel free to, you can email us, pavanineyoga@gmail.com, or just check out across the street. Our schedule is in the window, and our sign is on the building if you need the spelling. So thank you again.
So Megan, let's say where you are. You're between Dunkin' Donuts and True Value, Hoffman's Hardware.
Yeah, we're
You're
actually
right in the middle of them.
We are, yeah. It's the teal building. You can't miss it. It's very bright. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. We're actually on the third floor of True Value, but the entrance is
In
it's
the
a different
front.
entrance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah.
have a schedule of your classes?
We do. Yeah. It's in the window of the building,
Okay,
or it's
great.
also on our website. Yeah.
If you want to make some copies of what you have in the window,
Yeah.
please do, and put them on the counter downstairs in the lobby.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Absolutely.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. I would ask everyone to, on the back of the agendas that you have picked up is the guidelines for public comment, and we follow them the best that we can. Sometimes it looks like we don't, but we try hard. So, the Old Guard Hotel has asked to come tonight, and he says he's busy, and I was like, well, so am I, but you can speak if you want.
I invited him to come.
Yeah, so you can speak. Is he here for a reason that he wants to speak, or?
Well, I thought it would be in the board's best interest to hear the progress that is on the verge of being made on an issue that has been hotly debated up here. And Greg is in the best position to bring us up to date and to explain the various steps that the Old Guard needs to go through in order to responsibly remove the old motel. And I believe some work is scheduled to start this week.
Do you want, I can give you a couple minutes if you would like.
I'm only here at your request, so I gladly will. My name is Greg Laux. I am the owner of Iron Sword Enterprises in Wallkill, the hamlet of Wallkill. I'm the owner representative for the Old Guard Hotel Group. Somewhat reluctant, frankly, as I'm kind of helping them drag this through this process. Here's where we are. We had, of course, to do a demolition plan, proper and former, submitted to the village for review and approval. The village had some comments, one of which was to add what's called an angle of repose. That is, after we take the building down, we have to fill in the foundation. So, in responsibility to the owners, I had to go out, write some RFPs, requests for proposals, for two purposes. One is to amend the demolition plan. Two is to also now, because there is a well in the basement, it must be legally decertified and decommissioned by a legally certified entity, both an engineer and a certified well driller. So this is a process that's taken a lot longer than all of us like, including me, by the way. So here we are. We are ready to go. I have all the pricing in. I would frankly would prefer not to do an angle of repose. I'd rather not fill it. It's going to cost the owners another $20-some thousand to do that. And if there were a way I didn't have to do it legally, I would love not to, because it would expedite the process. But here's where we are now. All the numbers are in. We are ready to go. I'm signing directly, and we'll take responsibility for taking the building down. The first sequence is this. There are what are called ACMs in the building, meaning asbestos-containing materials. There aren't a lot, but there are some. And legally, we have to dispose of them properly, which means that I've engaged an engineering firm that's certified to come in and remove manually the ACMs. So this will commence this week, provided, of course, the village agrees, permits me properly, and allows me to come in. If not, at the very latest, I can't imagine more than next week. So they're ready to go. Two, once the ACMs are out of the building, all those asbestos-containing materials, then what we'll do is we'll come in and mechanically demolish the building itself. We will bring onto site some excavators, big excavators with grab bars, and they'll just take that building down. They'll kind of sort it properly. They'll put it in dumpsters, and that will all be hauled off. Once the building is out and cleaned, now we'll have nothing but a two-sided foundation. So it's not a hole in the ground, guys. It's a two-sided foundation open to the back. That is the area in which the village has asked us to put in drop earth in it, grade it all down. But in that basement is a well. Now, nobody has any idea how deep that well is. But because the law requires, the DEC requires that we decertify the well, what we have to do first, before we do anything else, before we put earth on that hole, is we have to go in and grout the well. So we have to determine the depth of the well and then fill that whole well up with a grout, a concrete essentially. And I have to use a certified well driller. And getting those guys out here, frankly, has been difficult because everybody's busy. So we finally got numbers. They will grout the entire well. They will cap that well. So now what it is kind of a longitudinal rock in the ground. And then the DEC, through our engineering firm, will decertify and decommission the well. Then the last phase is to fill that hole. It's not really a hole, it's a three-sided abscess in the ground. Will be filled with earth and graded out at a 1 to 3 angle of repose so that it's safe, and we'll erect a fence and we're a walk away. And at that point, as the owner group is finalizing their funding for the project, and it's taken a lot longer than I like either, as they finalize their funding, they have a hotel operator on board, they have a bank on board, they're funding what's called their equity gap, and they will finalize what we call design development throughout the remainder of the fall and the winter period. We don't want to start construction in the winter. We'll probably be done before that. And by the spring of next year, their goal to me, or scheduled to me, and to you, is to be in the ground building the hotel. And that's all I have. If there are any questions from anyone, I gladly will entertain
I
them.
personally really appreciate you coming because it has been one of those things that has.
I understand that. First is, yes, ma'am. You told me to be here, so I said I would be here. But absolutely, I understand this. I do understand. Again, remember, I'm caught in the middle too. I hope you understand that.
I just have a couple of things. Of course, the appearance of that hotel that's been up there, and I understand and I appreciate you being here tonight, but we've heard this before. A few times we've heard this. So what would actually be the date then of that building coming down?
Well, again, I understand you've heard this before. I'm not sure. Again, I would have loved to have the building down months ago.
But
there-
what is the actual
Let me
date of
explain
it coming
first.
down?
There's a process by which I had to buy. So
I understand that.
no way around it. If you would allow me not to do that angle repose, I'll start tomorrow. I would love not to. I'd love to save 20 grand and not have to put earth on.
We're past that.
We are. So this has caused me to go out there and RP. The answer to your question is this. So as I said, all of the numbers are in. I've had to write RFPs for all of these different processes because there are different entities that are involved. There are 4 different entities. Each one of them, I've had to bid it out to get multiple bids to do my due diligence to the owners. All the numbers are in, all have been leveled, and a selection has been made, and so we are ready to commence. So I talked to Bruce this morning, I'll talk to him, I can commence. Now, how long will it take is the question. It probably will take 4 to 5 days once I start, and I intend to start this week, at the latest, next week. We're ready to go, as long as the village is.
You're saying-
With the ACMs.
You're saying 4 to 5 days for that building to come down?
No, here's what I'm saying.
That's my question.
No, you asked me when it would commence. The
When-
question
No,
is-
I didn't. I asked you, when is that building going to come down?
Well, look, I don't want to get into, when is it going to come down? It's going to come down after the ACMs are mitigated, which is the process I have to
So
follow.
there's not a set date?
No, here, let me back up.
Okay.
As soon as I am permitted, and I can start tomorrow because I've already signed and engaged a mitigation firm, an abatement firm, they can start tomorrow. It will probably take them 4 to 5 days maximum to remove all of the ACMs from the facility. Immediately after that, the demolition crew can come in and mechanically take down the building. So 4 to 5 days from when we start, let's say we start tomorrow, by next week, the demo crew will be on site, they'll be taking the building down.
Okay.
Right, once the building, and this is easy, mechanical demolition will go probably 3 to 4 days. Once that building is down, I've got to stop, because I've got to grout that well. Once the well is grouted and decertified and decommissioned, then I've got to bring 100 trucks on site with clean fill, compact it, put an angle of repose in, seed it, no SWIP is required, fence it, and I'm out of there. All told, the process is probably 2 weeks, once we start. 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
Okay?
Elise, these are emails that I started with you this morning, and I printed them all out, and they go back and forth and back and forth. But can I just show you one and tell me, it's from the village attorney, it's that paragraph?
And thank
You mean
you.
the village
You're welcome,
engineer?
sir.
Yeah, this is from Pat Hines. It's dated today, and he responds, I had asked Bruce and Pat to update me so that I could update you as to the status of this. And Pat basically says that the issue that Mr. Laux has brought up was the owner originally would have preferred not to grade the property and fill in any gaps there. And I know during the planning board process and later that was discussed at length. So it came back from the village and the engineer that that was not acceptable and that the property would have to be made safe. Whether, I thought there was a hole, apparently there's no hole, but whatever had to be done, fill had to be brought in, had to be leveled so that it was safe. So that's what basically this email is saying. And that in order to do that, they would have to revise their demolition plan, which I think is consistent with what we just heard.
So has that been done?
Yes, oh, if I.
We have to provide, as part of now this whole sequence, not so much revise the demo plan. It doesn't have to be revised. We have to provide a narrative to the village engineer, which simply lays out the sequence of activities here. Here's what we're doing. To Elisa's comment here, what we'd asked is that can we first, to reduce our costs somewhat, can we take existing fill from the site and push that into this again, abscess in the ground. It's not so much an abscess, because you'll have, again, it's two-sided. To do that, though, would require a grading plan, probably a SWIP, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan. It's just not, we would have done it, would have delayed us another month and a half. So we said, probably, no doubt, or creating another hole in the ground just by removing earth. It would have been cheaper for us, for the owners, not for me. So in the end, we said, we gotta get it done, because I'm standing here before you all, telling you, as Joe has said, how many times you've asked us to be here, and I keep telling you, the building's gonna come down. But just, again, these things come up. I would love not to have to fill it, but I have to fill it. So,
And they were told they had to do that and to, however you want to say it, revise the plan, change it, whatever,
a narrative.
a narrative before the building inspector would in fact issue the permit that they need to do that.
Right.
My understanding from Bruce, and I think I also emailed, I think I forwarded his email to you as well, Mayor, that as of today, Bruce is just waiting for the permit fee,
$50.
$50.
Yeah.
And so my question was going to be, when are you going to apply for that permit?
No, we've already applied for the
You've already
permit.
applied.
Permit is already in, the application is in. Again, this is not addressed in the permit application. This is a requirement by the village engineer to provide the narrative. I have written the narrative. It is akin to what I just told you. It's what they've asked for. I will submit that tomorrow with my $50 fee. I just finally got my last numbers in for abatement this morning and
so
decertification.
You'll be submitting that narrative to the building inspector and the village engineer?
That is correct. Every time unless Bruce and I'm emailing him with just matter of fact or de facto information, he's going to send it to the town engineer, village engineer. So I always copy Pat anyway. I met with them, by the way, a few weeks ago. I went through all of this with them.
Right, and I think that's what he was updating the mayor on.
Mhm.
And the engineer and the planning department were in agreement about doing a narrative rather than reopening a whole new permitting process.
And so is there any reason, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is there any reason why that permit would be denied that you can see as of now? Charlie, have you heard anything that it would be reason it would be denied? So what I think I can do tomorrow then is check back with the village engineer, verify that, the permit has been applied for, he's got the narrative, and then the permit should be, unless there's a problem, the permit should be issued by the village.
So my only concern, which maybe doesn't have to be a concern, is that when all of this starts, the hole that has to be filled in, I guess you're going to use debris from on-site. Oh, well, that's what I
It'd be
read.
Clean fill imported. We would we'd prefer not to do anything, not to fill the hole at all.
We're
Okay.
asking to use debris from on-site.
Right.
but
Yep.
That creates the whole.
Debris is the wrong phrase, by the way. It can't be debris.
Okay.
It has to be
So let me
clean
get to
fill.
my question. I'm worried about any rainwater in the back. Well, is there going to be precautions when this work starts?
You are more at risk for soiled runoff with an angle of repose than you are leaving the hole in the ground. That's why I don't understand this right now. I was just gonna put a fence around the, remember, it's not a hole in the ground. It's built on a slope. So it drops down in the back, so once I remove the building, you'll have a retaining wall, actually half a retaining wall. You'll really have a front retaining wall, and that's it.
All right, so there's no drainage issues by doing this work?
Well, there will be. If you put an angle of repose in, now what you've done is introduced a 3-to-1 slope, a 1-to-3 slope, and that rainwater will hit and it will go up. Will it get down to the slope? I kind of doubt it. We're going to seed that anyway. So, but you are at risk. And what we'll do, Mayor, is put a silt fence to stop that.
Just one last question. You mentioned that there's going to be, where is that fill coming from?
We'll import it
From,
from off-site.
But it would be tested clean fill.
right, do we have that
Oh,
tested?
absolutely. Remember, the building inspector has to, and we will also have a third party
Okay.
agency that comes in to ensure. There's no real compaction requirements,
I'm
but we
worried
have to
about the
require that it
drainage.
is in fact bona
I'm
fide.
not
So we're not
hearing-
pulling it out of a dump someplace.
I'm worried about the drainage.
Well, I understand that. Look, I'm not an engineer, so I don't understand all of this and whatever, but what I believe I'm hearing, and Charlie, you can chime in, because I know you've been on top of this, is that, first of all, there will be a silt fence, so that should catch, I don't know that that'll catch the water again. Trustee Ramos might be more inclined to be able to answer that question. But it appears to me that the applicant is doing what he's been told to do by the village engineer and the village building inspector. So I have to trust that the village engineer has taken the drainage into account before he's suggested doing this and requiring this to be done. Now, we can talk to the village engineer tomorrow and see if, I'm sure he's considered that. I can't imagine that the village engineer, given the site and all the months of going through the drainage calculations during planning board review, would not be aware of that, so,
I just wrote a note, I'll call the engineer in the morning.
yeah.
I'm very worried about it because there's residents down there, and they're really worried.
And they were very worried during the whole process, as
Just,
I recall.
I'm an engineer too. By introducing the angle of repose, you're at more risk for runoff down below than you are by leaving. We're actually reducing the impervious footprint by just taking the building out. You have a little concrete base in the basement. It's not a basement, it's just, it'll be ground level below. Water will hit, and now it's not moving off the roof line this way and moving around, or off the roof line this way. It's landing on that concrete. In fact, we're probably gonna rip that up and stopping right there. When you introduce an angle of repose, you're gonna get water that's gonna hit that earth, it's gonna move down that earth, it's gonna carry sediment with it. That's what the silt fence is for. So will the silt fence stop all of it? It gets excavated, dropped in a foot below the earth levels to stop, it's the purpose of the silt fence. So I hope it'll stop it all. But
It stops the silts, doesn't stop the water. The silt fence
course
is meant to allow water to go through it. That water already runs off of that
Roger that.
site. And what's going to transpire now, and I'm sure, like you said, Greg, it might be more beneficial with the less runoff if that was a flat area. So the time of concentration coming off that flat piece that was left in the ground would be less.
Roger that, sir.
But
It's just a fact.
once we put a slope on it, it can increase that time of concentration a little bit. But maybe a swale down at the bottom. But there's still going to be.
But then I would have to
there's still gonna be
revise my
runoff.
demo plan.
Right, there's still going to be runoff coming down.
let me just,
And-
to that point, if I swale it, I still have to move the water now from the swale.
Right,
It's got to go someplace.
Yeah.
So now we're going to introduce some engineering that you're going to have to look at, review, and be very careful about.
right,
So you're going to get the same amount of water hitting that site. It's just how that water moves.
right.
Yeah, it's not a dam. The silt fence is not a dam, to Mr. Ramos's point. It is simply to stop silt or runoff.
Right.
But you're still going to get the same amount of water running down that to the backside. Until we correct the whole site,
And
that's
it-
going to happen.
And in all reality, it might even be less because it's going to be hitting,
Less impervious surface. Yes,
correct.
sir. If we just take the building down, I mean, you have less impervious surface, you've just introduced, again, a grade that's going to be washed out. We're going to seed it, but it's going to take a while. It's just, until grass grows on it.
Okay.
It might be, I mean, that all sounds very logical to me, that if you introduce a slope, it's gonna cause more of a, runoff problem. So when you talk to the engineer tomorrow, maybe you would like to call him as well. Just, there must be something, there must be a good reason why the village is suggesting that, other than just leaving it flat. I thought there was a hole in the ground,
And I believe
But-
that's why.
yeah.
I think Bruce thought the same thing.
Everybody thought it was
There
a
was a hole
hole
in it.
and they wanted the hole filled
Right.
because we didn't want to create, in
A
essence, a
danger.
pool that would fill up. Or, someplace where, God forbid, a kid could fall into. So that's why the fill was introduced.
That was where
back.
Bruce's words, he said, we don't want a swimming pool back there.
Right.
And you can't, anybody want to take a look, you can't have it. There won't be a swimming pool back there. All it is, it's on the, how to explain this, if I could draw a diagram. The front level is, the back level, it's built into a hill essentially. You really have the front wall, so you'll have a drop off of about 7 feet, because the basement is not a full 8-foot basement, about a 7-foot basement. And by most of that front wall is pervious, so it introduces water into there. The basement's very wet. Water gets through the rock and the old cement and so on, so it's already moving through that. I told the excavator to leave it there because it provides a retaining wall and retains to a certain extent the water that's coming off the ridge. So we don't want to remove that. You'd have a worse problem if we did. Until they get in, they get their money and fix the site properly. So yeah, there's no swimming pool. It's just that you'll have a level up here where the parking lot is. You go down below, you'll have a rock wall essentially, and that's it. It's flat. The rest of the ground is flat going out. So your call. I'm already ready to move with a angle of repose. I'd love not to, but I don't know what it's going to take on.
I
your side.
agree with what you're saying, and I've been up there a few times, and I know on the sides it slopes down on the end to end on it.
Roger
you
that,
know.
sir. Round.
Right,
Yep.
but, I could see that holding the water.
That's why I'm leaving the wall there.
Yeah.
Even if we fill it,
Yeah.
that wall will stop. Water moves in sheet water through the earth there from off the ridge, a lot of it. So that leaving that retaining wall there, or that foundation wall, retains water and stops it from sheeting further down. I mean, it's going to move eventually around, but we already know where it's going. Yes, sir. It's a good point.
All right, let's see what tomorrow brings. One thing, though, Charlie, with inviting him tonight, from now on, if anyone wants to invite this gentleman or anyone else from Old Guard Hotel here, and it's an engineering issue, please, I need to have the village engineer here. Tonight, I would have had the village engineer here, and it would have saved time. I got to start saving time on these projects, so I should have known, and he should have been here. So from now on, that's what we'll do. Okay, thank you, sir.
I didn't mean to throw
it's
Charlie
fine.
under the bus. I just
Well,
knew
you
that
did.
you wanted to ask me some questions.
But we had this conversation today around noontime.
Okay. From now on, I want to have the village engineer.
Roger that.
Thank you so much.
I will leave unless anyone uses me for it.
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is to approve minutes that were written. You have before you was a regular meeting on July the 16th, 2018. Motion by trustee Howard, is there a second? Second by trustee Livesey, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I have a memo here from Chief Scott for approval of 2 quotes attached. You have them before you for the air conditioner unit replacement. There's been some questions late this afternoon on these 2 quotes, and I would ask the board to table it until the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to table it for the next meeting.
Motion by trustee Howard, second by Livesey. I didn't hear you.
No, I was saying.
to table the air conditioner unit for the police department. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This is, the next item is the Catholic Charities Community Service of Orange and Sullivan to renew the extension for another 12 months. This is an agreement between the village and the cooperative services for another year. This is a very good service we provide our employees for many different kinds of issues that they can take advantage of, and at no cost.
I'll move that we.
It's also no
renew this.
cost to us.
Yeah.
You understand?
Oh, it's not?
No, I don't believe so, otherwise it would be here.
The amount hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's
What, it's not here.
1,800.
It's
It's-
$1,802.
$1,802. Okay, so that'll be the cost. Is there approval from the board to sign the contract?
Motion to sign the contract.
Okay, motion by trustee Murphy, second by
Second.
trustee Ramus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, I see it, 1802, right there on the agenda. I apologize. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to seek a water infrastructure improvement grant under the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. This is for the, for this wastewater treatment plant. We've been talking about this. This is a lot of work that Russell Budd's been doing for us to go after low interest and grants for a couple of projects that we have to do down there. One of them is to replace the RBC, and there's some other items that need to be done. So this is just part of the application. If I could, you have it before you, and if I could have a motion to sign this, it would be appropriate as part of the grant.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by trustee Livesey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Ramus, may I have roll call?
Trustee Elwood.
Aye.
Trustee Lipsy.
Aye.
Trustee Ramos.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you so much. Have you been involved in this, Elise? I think, right? Yeah,
That's my resolution.
okay, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda would be a resolution for a budget amendment for 2018-2019, whereas $1,500 has been received from Jesse Marvin, and whereas this revenue has been designated for a one-year vendor space permit. Now, therefore, be it resolved that due to unanticipated revenue from Jesse Marvin, the Board of Trustees approves an amendment to increase the appropriation budget A 0000.2501 business licenses and increase the revenue code of A 7120.0400 beautification contractual for $1,500 for fiscal year 1819. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Murphy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Howard. Any comments, discussion? May I have roll call?
Trustee Elwood.
Aye.
Trustee Lipsy.
Aye.
Trustee Ramos.
Aye.
Trustee Murphy.
Aye.
Mayor Knopf.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Authorization I need for the renewal for our IT service agreement with Fred Lewis. You have that before you. We've had him for a lot of years. He comes when he's needed, right?
Yes,
Which is, it happens,
it does.
you know, and you can't wait because you're using the computers.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by trustee Livesey for the mayor to sign the service agreement. Is there a
Second.
second by trustee Murphy? Nay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have a rescind property maintenance that was issued for 18 Wyandotte. Whereas at the June 4th, 2018 Village Board meeting, a public hearing was held regarding a property maintenance violation issued to the property of 18 Wyandotte Avenue, at which hearing no one appeared on behalf of the property owner. And whereas the public hearing was duly closed and the village board took all appropriate action to remedy the violation and bill the cost of said remedy to the property owner. And whereas thereafter, the owner of 18 Wyandotte Avenue demonstrated by competent evidence that the wrong property had been posted and that the cost of remediation should rightly be charged to the property in violation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the village board rescind the June 4th, 2018 resolution, finding that the owner of 18 Wyandotte Avenue failed to remedy a property maintenance violation and imposing the cost of remedy and administration on the owner of said property. So this was issued in error. I just want to clean it up.
I'll move it.
Yep, you understand?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was the adjacent empty lot.
So, a motion by trustee Murphy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Howard. May I have roll call?
Trustee Howard?
Aye.
Trustee Lipsy?
Aye.
Trustee Ramos?
Aye.
Trustee Murphy?
Aye.
Mayor?
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have a resolution for final notice and termination of services for unpaid water bills for May of 2018. Whereas the Village of Highland Falls has 130 delinquent water accounts in the amount of $27,707.89 remaining unpaid, including late fees from the May 2018 water billing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the clerk notify all delinquent water customers that unless payment is made by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, August 21, 2018, water service will be terminated. Be it further resolved that if any service is so terminated, a reconnect fee of $75 will be charged to restore the service. May I have a motion?
Make a motion?
Motion by trustee Howard, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Livesey, may I have roll call?
Trustee Howard?
Aye.
Trustee Lipsy?
Aye.
Trustee Ramos?
Aye.
Trustee Murphy?
Aye.
Mayor Melvin?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. Now, let's do these property maintenance hearings, which I'll open up at this time. It looks on that clock to be 7:41. We have property maintenance issues for 1610 Route 9W, High Grass, which is the Pointer Echo Motel. Is there anyone here representing them, owner or representing them? We have 1424 Route 9W, the BMW, the old BMW property. Is there anyone here representing them? We have 117 Center Street. Is there anyone here representing them? We have 6 Catherine Street. Anyone here representing them? 64 Center Street. Anyone here representing them? 22 Mearns Avenue. Anyone representing them? 138 Mearns Avenue. Anyone here representing them? There's no one here representing them. They're all for High Grass.
Just for curiosity, well, we know the Pointer Echo and the BMWs. Is there any other of these that are vacant properties?
I'm guessing a little bit, Merv. I think that, well, the BMW place was, I went by it yesterday. I see there's a plumber in there now.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a sign outside. 138, is that the dead end of Mearns? That's vacant. The last house on Mearns, south, is vacant. That's the ones that I know. I'm not sure about other ones. Okay, so I'll read one resolution as I can do by our attorney.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
I'm just wondering about the Pointer Echo, since Greg was here earlier and indicated that work would be starting. Moreover, right now, the tall weeds are blocking what might be a worse view. Might we want to hold this till the next meeting?
Yeah, but what do you say on the next house that's in bad condition? Let them grow their weeds to hide it too? And I don't mean that
Yeah.
sarcastically. You know, I mean,
So we're going to
they need to maintain it.
pay to have the weeds cut down so people can see the derelict motel.
I understand what you're saying, but again, there's derelict houses. Like,
Damn.
well, he's the one that said within a month that building's gonna be down. He said. So, that's not that long of a time, and I'm sure gonna stand by his word on that.
I just think right now it looks better with the weeds than having the weeds down.
But there's codes.
Yeah, we'll move forward with the list. I understand your comment. I do. I saw it yesterday too. I was kind of shocked that the weeds got that high. And you can hardly see the motel now.
When will we put this out to bid? Tomorrow?
They won't go tomorrow. They won't go, I mean, the town has to act on it. It won't be tomorrow. Will it be Thursday or Friday? I can't say, Jim.
So if they cut it down before that point in time, what happens?
Yeah.
Oh,
What happens if?
Pointer's Echo.
If they cut the weeds
If
down
they were to
before-
do their
Yeah.
maintenance, say they got their permit tomorrow, I mean, in the perfect
Well-
world, and they went up there, started working and did property maintenance, in other words, clearing those weeds tomorrow.
Well, the fine or the cost won't be levied until it's actually incurred.
Okay.
So if they do the property maintenance and take down the hotel before the village cuts it,
Okay.
then they won't get the,
Okay.
they won't see it on their bills.
Okay.
I think those
Great,
weeds are
thank
gonna
you.
grow right back up too. I cut my grass 4 days ago, it's high already in 4 days.
that's the rain and the sun.
I know.
You know? All right. So let me read the resolution, one resolution. I don't have to do all of them. I'll include all the addresses. Whereas the long-standing violation of the Village Property Maintenance Law, Chapter 170 of the Village of Highland Falls Code has existed at 1610 Route 9W, 1424 Route 9W, 117 Center, 6 Catherine, 64 Center, 22 Mearns, and 138 Mearns. And whereas the property owner has been given due notice and said violations have been directed to correct and the violations. And whereas the property owners were given due notice of a public hearing to be held by the Board of Trustees on August the 6th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to determine whether the violations have been properly remedied and whether to order that corrective action be undertaken by the village to correct said violations at the property owner's cost and expense, to bill said costs and expense to the property owner, and to levy the same against the property. And whereas a public hearing was duly held by the Board of Trustees on August the 6th, 2018 at 7:41, and whereas the owner did not appear, and whereas the owner or owners have not taken steps to correct the violations, and the violations still exist. And whereas the Board of Trustees is authorized pursuant to Section 170-6 of the Property Maintenance Law to authorize that the village undertake to remedy such violations at the property owner's cost and expense. Now therefore, be it resolved that the village, its contractors or agents shall enter upon the property to correct the violations and that all costs incurred by the village, including administrative, legal, corrective costs, be charged to the property owner, and such charge shall be added to the tax bill of the property owner if not paid within 30 days of notification to the last known address of the property owner as shown on the village tax records.
Before you move to adopt that, you need to close the public hearing.
Yes.
So just close the public hearing?
Yes. So we'll close the public hearing before we take a vote on this at 7:50. All right, Anna? 7,
Motion to close?
motion to close
You got it?
by trustee Murphy, and is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Ramus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And now that we're out of that public hearing on these addresses, may I have a motion to accept this?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by trustee Howard, seconded by trustee Ramus. May I have roll call?
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Aye on all of them, but I'm going to abstain on the 1610 Route 9W, also because I think the address may be flawed that it was sent to.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. You have before you bills and claims for fiscal year 17-18 of $9,571.48, and you have bills for this year, fiscal year 2019 of $99,460.37.
Motion to accept?
Motion to pay bills
Yep.
by trustee Murphy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. To the board, I'll be bringing to you possibly 8 streets that we want to pave this year, and we'll talk about that. I want to bring up this youth fall soccer. The Recreation Department is now taking signups for Fall Soccer League. Sign up is at the Rec Department, 254 Main Street. They're looking for young athletes to participate in soccer. Again, once a month, we'll have a business here to talk about their businesses. I have 2 letters here. I'll read one, but it was addressed to Police Officer David Yates and Police Officer Philip Hackett. Dear police officers, attached is a copy of a letter sent to the News of the Highlands from Pat and Marilyn Kelly. The letter speaks for itself. The professional manner in which you conducted yourself not only makes a very positive impression of you and the police department, it meets the standards we strive for. Not only am I proud of you, I am grateful to have a member like you in the ranks. A police agency wins the support and respect of the police one encounter at a time. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your professionalism. Your performance has been helpful in achieving our goal of public support. In this case, I am sure we are being thought of in a positive manner by Mr. and Mrs. Kelly and all the people that relate to this incident. Thank you. This will go in these 2 police officers' files. There's a letter to the editor which you can read when you buy the News of the Highlands. One can say these police officers and EMS, I know they were there, were doing their job. And that's true. They were doing their job. There was a medical call. It doesn't matter where or who tonight. But it was, I have been a fireman for 38 years. I've seen some sights that, to be honest with you, I cannot get out of my mind from time to time. You have, anyone involved in emergency services. This was one of those cases. It wasn't pretty. But professionalism took over, which is what we want. Is what we want. So to those two police officers, to the EMS folks that were there, this board says thank you. And again, these letters will go into the files of these two police officers. All right, Main Street, Pentagon Federal Credit Union has sold. New barber shop at the north end. Facility Souvenir Shop, when you drive by it, beautiful brick building, is being, a lot of money is being spent on renovations. Masons, what address is that? 312, 314 Main Street, next to Dunkin' Donuts on the north side.
Is that going to be the bakery there?
No, I get to that.
Okay.
You and I don't have to see a bakery.
I got it.
A new store is going in there that a lot of people are waiting to open up, an eatery. Tonight, the yoga folks were here. That's right across the street. If you drive down here, West Point Pizza is doing, front of their building is doing some renovations, which really show. They really show up. And the bakery is next door here. Old timers, we say Sophie's building, Sophie Greenberg.
So then you
A
go-
new person like you is where the Apple place was.
So then you go to the bakery, and then you go to yoga.
Yes.
I've seen it the opposite way too.
Did you say Penn Fed got sold?
Yes. And as I mentioned downstairs, we will be starting this, and we're going to need your help, Elise. We're going to be starting the $500,000 grant that we have received for renovations of brick buildings. Okay?
I just wondered, did anyone see the article in the New York Times about the Highland Falls
Yes.
real estate?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
The little guy made it. It was a nice article.
That's nice, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Do you know who Penn Fed?
I attended, as I always do, it's every 3 months it's been going on. In fact, it was General Christman many years ago, back in the late 90s, and I founded this. It's a West Point Community Engagement Council. It was held last Wednesday, August 1. Just a couple of highlights. The new garrison commander was there, which was good. We talked about the salt shed. I don't know if you have anything on that, Lori. It's going to take time, but that salt shed would be great moved. I worry about our water. The eyesight is the eyesight, but it's really the water that I'm worried about. Remember that West Point has their summer concerts at Trophy Point. There's a lot of them, many different dates. And don't forget, Army football starts. Army football starts, their first game is on Saturday, September the 8th. And there's 6 home games this year, which we appreciate, and they all start at noon. Your pop was there. I don't think there's anything more. Okay, so it was very interesting. Tomorrow night is National Night Out up here in the parking lot across from Sacred Heart. I know the local police department is going to have a lot of different booths and there, and a lot of fun for the young people of the community. And so these coloring pages will be handed out. It's a contest that I'm going to hold. That guy, you know what his name is? No? Obviously, I'm going to tell you. It's Nate the Knight for National Night Out. Nate the Knight. Color Nate the Knight. you might win a prize.
It sort of looked like me a little bit.
It does look like you were. No, it actually does. It actually does. It really does.
Your knees don't look like that, Mr. Lisby.
No.
Okay.
But that's a great,
You're gonna get a
that's,
sewer report?
that's a good event.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right, let me just get through this here. All right, so that's the $500,000 grant. Bagworms. Merv, you know about bagworms?
I do, and
Okay.
I'm curious how many people actually know about that. And that's a
Who knows about
horrible
bagworms? Well, we know you do. Okay, bagworms I had to learn about. If you Google bagworms, it'll come up, what they look like. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of them.
thing. Well, I gotta tell you this, my folks had them
Yeah.
on a tree, and they just had to get it removed, the whole tree.
The tree.
Yeah.
So I had a meeting with the garrison a few days ago, and I asked him if he could share the forestry of West Point. They're very professional up there. This week I'll find out from them how to get rid of them. I
Apparently,
thought I'd use that.
it's supposed to be the beginning of June to spray on them.
Oh,
So right now, we're sort of at the cycle where they go into their cone,
okay.
and you can spray all you want. It's not gonna do anything to them. And then in October, you're supposed to have 1,000 eggs that come out and fall all over the ground, get themselves into the soil, and then the next season, they come back up again. Nasty things.
I spoke with some of the people at West Point also about it. There are a few other things that we could do, but
Good.
that has to be professionally applied.
Oh, yeah.
To the root system where the roots would take in this chemical.
Yeah.
And then that would be absorbed in the larva stage that it's in now. But let's wait to hear.
Let's just see what they say.
What they say,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Sure. So there are a few things that you can do.
Okay, I want the folks to know about Roe Park and what the village does to maintain it, etc. And I know you can go over there and think that the goose droppings aren't removed because as soon as we do it, within 24 hours, it looks like we weren't even there. And so that's a daily thing we have to keep up on. But let me just go through these items here. We open and clean the bathrooms daily. We replace any light bulbs or broken fixtures. We clean and maintain, now what I'm reading here is what we do every day. Clean and maintain picnic area under the pavilion, empty the garbage cans daily. Clean and maintain the playground area daily. Maintain fountain cleaning and resetting daily. Pressure wash playground matting, basketball court under the pavilion and sidewalks to the pool area weekly. Monitor and control depth of pond to prevent flooding. Clean and repair south end of pond shoreline due to damage from fallen willow tree. Had pond treated twice for algae. Fixed and repaired all electrical outlets under the pavilion and field area. Cut brush and old trees around the old bathroom area. Cut brush and sumac trees around walls and around the pond. Trimmed and maintained bushes at entrance to the field area. Working on replacing and staining broken railings at the gazebo in the playground. I think the staining of the gazebo is done. I think the nails have been removed and the spindles have been put up. The issue there is that kids go over there and
They're rough.
they're rough. That's putting it nicely.
They're rough.
Have ordered and are waiting for the delivery of the new swings. Cleaned and picked up debris and garbage around softball field, dugouts, and bleachers, particularly during men's softball season. Cleaned and picked up garbage around bleachers, snack shack at the Little League field numerous times, and we cut the grass at the Little League field at the request of the recreation director and Little League president. So there's an ongoing maintenance being done to Roe Park. Of course, the more they use it, and we want more to use it, the more maintenance on a daily basis. All of this has to has to be done, most of it every day.
Yep.
I know that Mr. Livesey, trustee Livesey walks around the pond more than I do. You see things more than I do, and that's good, so.
I think
Go
one
ahead.
one of the biggest things that I see up there, it's a beautiful park. It really is. I mean, it's a beautiful park, and I sometimes don't understand why it's not just packed up there. I mean, it gets people up there, don't take me wrong. And just to throw in this real quick, so we made a motion to allow softball players up there. I watched the game on a Sunday. They had a ball. They had a ball, they had a good time, they had the whole thing going on, just in case anybody was wondering around that. So,
What time was the game?
around 5 o'clock.
Okay, I went over too early. I went over on Sunday, because I wanted to see.
Yeah,
And actually, there was no one in the park.
yeah, they had a good time, they
Okay.
really did.
Good. All right.
Anyway,
Could we mention that you can't swim in Roe Park?
Yeah.
What Trustee Howard is referring to is that over the weekend, there were folks in the pond. I know it's hot, but there's a pool. So the pool is for, you can't swim in the pond
Okay, you can't stop your van and get out
and jump.
and jump in the pool, or jump in the pond.
If they would like to swim in a pond, Long Pond's available. It is open. Some people don't like to swim in the pool water. Just saying.
All right. Some jobs that we're working on. And there's so many that we have to get completed before winter comes. But we're looking at the wall situation down behind Town Hall where the Highland Brook is. We have some FEMA money left over to fix a couple of spots. We're working on some FEMA money that we have for Havens Road. That's the road that takes you down next to the Grand Union, down to the highway garage. Sidewalk money, it's a terrible process, government. So sidewalk money is coming. It'll be here this year. We'll replace some sidewalks around Lady Cliff Park and West Point Highway. We're going to do this year, believe it or not. We have time left, as long as I keep it pushing it, to do the sidewalks at the north end. Soon we'll be going out with an RFP for the Holland Falls Marina. The Restore New York, which I brought up tonight, that's the $500,000 grant. We have our streets that we're going to pay. We have union contracts that are being worked on, I don't want to say daily, that would be an exaggeration, but for sure, am I correct, Mr. Howard, weekly?
Yeah, yes.
LED lights are coming. Again, Orange and Rockland doesn't move quick. You'll see the piece of steel came down from the 9/11 memorial, and that committee is going to come back and suggest how we should put it up. My meeting with the Garrison Commander's Office, topics were the transfer station. I have asked West Point to reopen the transfer station out on 293 for local residents, to bring their yard waste, tree branches, leaves, construction debris, that we are able to go back out there. I've had 2 conversations with the Garrison. Both are positive so far. I was hoping to have the yes by tonight, but I'll have a yes or no very, very soon. But as long as the transfer station is still open, which it is, allow the residents to go back out. I resurrected the land return to 250 acres. I've asked West Point, along with myself, the village, to write the state a letter asking them to pave 218. The 218 I'm talking about is from the Coles to Thayer Gate. It's deplorable, it's an embarrassment. A road leading into West Point that looks like that. So hopefully with a letter from West Point, that'll help. I've asked them to send down, as I did many years ago, the Spirit Band, the Cadet Spirit Band on Saturday mornings to come down Main Street as they're playing their music. Bag worms I talked about.
Isn't that something though, you gotta get a letter from West Point to try to push that on that road? I mean, everybody knows the road. I mean, I'm already moving
It's terrible.
around a little bit on that road.
Yeah, it's very bad. Mr. Howard?
Yes.
anything?
Yeah. As the mayor talked about, our DPW, we're looking at paving roads in the village. I got a police report this week. We took drugs off the streets again. 2 arrests were made. So that's good to hear. Thursday, there's going to be a workshop in Warwick. Some of us are going to go over there. We're going to be looking at ethics, how to take notes. When you're taking notes at a meeting, it's legal, so we need to know exactly how to do that. Employee discipline and other topics. So we'll be doing that Thursday. Times Herald Record, underneath the editorial section, said cheers for the town and the village for going back and looking at consolidation in a rational manner. Is it going to help? You know, so we're still looking at that. The reason I bring that up is because there's still questions about transparency. Obviously, if you watched the meeting last time, we talked about it. We voted 5-0 to look at it. So that's transparency. So we did get a nice knock from the record under cheers. And that's about it.
Thank you. Rick?
Well, you pretty much covered everything up I was gonna talk about,
Talk
Roe Park. So, I mean, you did good with that, and I'm glad to see that.
We have new,
Right,
I don't know if they're, we have new swings coming,
right.
and I also ordered the baby swings. They're very bad.
I know,
Besides, actually, they're so dirty I wouldn't
I know.
put my granddaughter in one.
They're real bad.
But there's also some steel
Right.
coming through.
And I'm also glad to see that we're pushing with the water department, because again, I mean, I know I brought up flooding and all of that at the last meeting, but again, if you know what this rain did, especially along the brook and everything else, there was a lot of water.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's basements got a lot of water in them. So again, we really want to push that issue that don't pump that water into the village's sewage, you know, and that's important, because that, Jim, just makes it want to really work.
It costs us a lot of money
It does.
to treat clean water.
It does, and from what I know and from what I hear, we got some storms coming, and we got a lot more water coming, so. Good, that's it.
Oh, good, thank you. Charlie?
I think I'm good.
Sure,
I thought that's
of
what you
course
said.
not. Of course not. Come on, Mr. Mayor. We got the wastewater treatment facility. Just to give you a quick update on what's transpired down there. Obviously, the mayor signed another piece of the process to get that fixed down there. That's a great thing that we're going to have done. That plant is long overdue to have those upgrades done. Last month, the average wastewater treated was 688,000 gallons a day. Talking about the rain, last month there was 8.3 inches of rain we had last month. But the way this sounds, it sounds like we weren't treating rainwater, so that's a good thing, based on some of the previous figures that we had. Our speedies permit is up to par. The belt price, which we're going to get fixed, was only in operation for 9 days. But it was still working, so that's a good thing. And as far as some of the other pump stations, the gentleman checked up on those, and they are working fine. They continue to do the maintenance of lubrication of the pumps, and one of the things that was brought up when the inspector was down there was about the painting and maintenance, and the inspector was shocked at how well maintained our facility is down there, considering how old it is. And that's a pat on the back to all of the personnel that work down there. And those guys also, you know, it's not the only place that they come and perform the service that they're paid for the village. When they're asked to, they come out and they help with some of the paving. some of the digging of holes when there's a leak. So our departments definitely work together, whether it's the water department, the sewer department, or the DPW. Great to see. Talking about invasive species, right now the DEC is looking for anybody that has a pool, that they're doing a citizen science survey for invasive beetles. These are the Asian longhorn beetles, and if we can find out if they're out there now, that it can save the trees and it's going to save money. So they're pretty easy to recognize, and you will see them in your pool filters. People that don't know what they look like, they're about 1.5 inches long. They're black with white spots, and they have really long antennae on them, which are black and white. If you do see these, please contact the DEC. You can go right to their website. Another telltale sign of them is they leave perfectly round holes in the tree around it, and you will notice that there is sawdust at the base of your tree. So those are just some of the things that you can do, and if we can find those, the DEC will come down and take care of them for us. Speaking about the LED lights, Mr. Mayor, I did get an email from O&R, and it was about 2/3 of the way through last month. They gave us a 4 to 6 week time frame on that. So, and with the storm that we just had, we know O&R was quite busy, but that should be happening within the next 2 weeks if their schedule is still on time. There's also some grants out there that I would like to see if we could look for. It's about recycling education, and these are grants that we can look for these applications. Not only it just started this month, but in September and October, and if we can get these classes or at least literature set up, we could have that information out to the public in January, February. You did the clean water. That's all I have for now.
Good stuff. Ma'am, you have anything? Do you? Yes.
Yes,
What is your name on the microphone?
That mic is turned down a little bit. You just have to pull it down. No, just the mic. You go.
Just the mic.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And my daughter just purchased a house in 2 Wyandotte. It's a one-way street, and whenever they have something going on at the park, there's a trail of trash from the park to down Wyandotte. So it appears that people are coming up Wyandotte, the one-way street, and they're going back that way, and the trash follows them for some reason. Every morning, whenever there's an event at the park, I have to pick up beer cans. I've picked up condom wrappers. I've picked up bras. There's a post office bin there where the post office guys come. I've actually sprayed the weeds that surround it so that it's more visible, so for it to be seen. But it's very much an eyesore to me, and I'm out there in my garden 24/7. I put a sign up on my wall that there's a camera watching, and it seems that the trash increases. For some reason, the sign is offensive to some people. I've actually called the police about it. So I don't know what can be done. It's also my understanding that there's a camera in the park, but it doesn't work, or it's not turned on.
No, that's not accurate.
Okay. And I also would like to know why a permit isn't required for those who want to have events in the park, no matter how small, a baby shower, whatever, so people can be more accountable for what's going on with the trash.
When you say events,
I'm talking about baby showers were the
Birthday
last time.
parties.
Yeah, exactly. The baseball and the softball people are pretty good about picking up their trash. It's the other small events that happen where there seems to be candy paper, everything following all the way down to my house. I don't know why they stopped there to, I don't know about the other homes, but I definitely don't want it in front of my home. And you guys already addressed the fact there's a lot of property that's defaced, that are empty with weeds growing. And I don't know what the village can do in terms of either buying the property, fixing the property, cutting the grass. I don't know, but it really makes this quote-unquote historical village not look so historical. There's a wolf running around someplace, coyote, and he likes my backyard a lot. Yeah, I see the tracks, and I want to know if there's any way that we can try to catch this little thing or big thing or whatever. Thank God fully I've never seen it, so, but I've heard a lot of residents complaining about it. I don't know how.
It's not really a way we can.
Right. I don't know if it's dangerous, I don't know what, so, I try
Well,
to keep my
I'm not going to
distance.
tell you it's not dangerous. I
Right.
mean, wild animals, you don't.
Exactly, you
don't
never
wanna
know there's rabies
hold your
or
hand out,
whatever.
you know?
Yeah,
Boxes too.
yeah, fox or, yeah, exactly, running around. And I really didn't write everything down because you guys addressed the abandoned properties. There's just too many abandoned properties in such a small village and so many defaced properties that it really brings down the village. So I don't know what can be done, if the property can be sold, if people are paying their taxes or what, but it really needs to be looked into because, again, as far as I'm concerned, being a new resident here, the only thing that's historic is West Point. Everything else just looks like it's run down to me. Okay? Now, I am the mother of, as I said, my daughter purchased a house on Wyandotte. She's a 2009 West Point grad. And I also have a daughter who is a major military intelligence, and she lives in Maryland. So this whole thing in terms of governmental issues and so on and so forth is not new to me. So what I would like is for things not to be said that it's going to be done and it's not done, because, I have to live here. And we all have to live here, and I don't think anyone wants to be in a neighborhood that doesn't look the best that it can be. The homes are pretty much older homes or whatever the case may be. A lot of them need to be renovated, but I'm sure there's steps that could be made for taxes that are not being paid or auctioning off our homes. I don't know what, but there has to be a resolution to what the problem is, because there's just too many abandoned homes. And also, from what my eyes can see, there's a lot of, for a better word, I can't think of a better word, but there are a lot of ghetto landlords that really don't care what the property looks like as long as the property is rented out. They don't care. I don't care what the inside looks like. That's not my business. But on the outside, I think there should be something that lets the homeowners know that they have to keep up the property, even though they're not living in it, because it takes down from everyone's neighborhood, And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your daughter lives at what address? She graduated, my stepson graduated in the same class. 2009. It was the best class ever.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, there were 73 minorities in that class, they actually made it into Essence Magazine. Out of 1,500 students there were, I believe that was the biggest class of mine.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We'll talk further. We will talk further.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes.
As you all know, Lori Tortel, County Legislator for Orange County, representing the 14th District here. Thank you, Mayor and trustees. One of the things that you had addressed or asked me about earlier was the salt shed. I was also at the CRC meeting. I think you left before I addressed it with them because it was on one of the slides, but they never discussed it. It's at the hands of the DOT. DOT is assessing the areas that West Point said they could put a salt shed on. A couple of them are further out on 293 than what they had anticipated, I believe. They had anticipated something a little closer to the 9W interchange. So they're addressing that. But it is imperative because their catchment area for the Storm King Mountain, it's the crew that comes all the way over from the far side of Newburgh, whereas the people who start out at the base of the mountain at the 293 interchange are heading south and not plowing or salting the mountain, which there's not enough space to expand that spot for enough trucks to include that into the catchment area, include the mountain into that catchment area. So they are working on it and assessing it. In address to, and thank you to your daughters and to you for your daughter's service to our country and for you for bringing up such wonderful children. One of the things that wasn't addressed, when you were talking about the derelict properties, and you said you believe one of them was abandoned, there was legislation that was passed. James was a very big, worked very hard on the legislation, Assemblyman Skoufis. It's for zombie properties. If a property is in the middle of a foreclosure, it is still the bank's responsibility to maintain that property. There is a hotline for New York State where you don't even have to do the legwork. You report it, and they will go after that bank to get them to take care of that property. So it would not be at the expense of the village. It would not be at the expense of who knows when, or waiting for you to get that money back. And what if they don't pay the taxes on that property? Then you're waiting even longer to get that money back until the county makes the village and the town whole.
Do you happen to know that telephone number?
I do. I have it on, I can get it from you, but I don't have cell service in here. There's no bars and no Wi-Fi, so I will get it for you when we go downstairs and I can get some cell connection, or I can email it to you if I can't get it outside on Main Street.
Lori, I know about the zombie properties. We've talked about that up here many times.
Yeah.
And, ma'am, we do go after the banks. A lot of these empty properties that need property maintenance have been repossessed or whatever it is by the financial institutions that lent the original homeowner the money. And we do go after them, and we do have luck with them,
Yeah.
you know.
But this also makes it a little easier on you, a little less legwork by reporting it to the 800 number and to the hotline. So it's just to make it a little bit easier on the municipalities who have to deal with these. Also, one of the things that was mentioned that you didn't mention earlier from the CRC meeting is there's another Spartan race happening August 25th through 26th out at Lake Frederick. They're anticipating 8,000 to 9,000 registered racers, an estimated 3,000 cars. They were looking for spaces within, the area to park them. Last time they parked them out at Anthony Wayne and bussed them into the race. This time they're looking for another area. They were looking for places that could handle at least 1,000 cars. I couldn't think of anything with inside the
Lori,
village.
I didn't mention it. There's
Yeah.
a lot of things I didn't mention
Yeah,
in here.
yeah, oh yeah, it's
All
a
right,
huge.
So,
Yeah, but I just wanted to
as far
let-
as the cars go, they even said they don't want a parking lot with 50 to 100 cars.
No, they want something that'll handle
thousands.
1,000
So
cars.
that's
Yeah, but I just wanted to let people know,
That's
because it
not
could
it.
still impact us and probably, help our Main Street with a little more business. Also.
not, West Point doesn't feed them, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Also, you had mentioned that the zombie properties, and two other things that I had was, one of the things that I had recently spoke to Trustee Alward on was the old Sue Kelly grant, Congresswoman Sue Kelly. I addressed this board back in 2008, not all of you, some of you weren't here, some of you were. The village, this grant is available to you. I contacted Commissioner Church, it's ready, you can use it.
All right. Laura, okay, I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay.
I know all about the Sue Kelly money.
Yeah, I know you do. You were here when it came.
I got it, no, I was here when I got it resurrected a month ago.
Okay.
Forget about when we got it. People in this room don't even know Sue Kelly.
Yeah, no, I know
That's how
that.
long ago it was.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but the money is there, it's ours. I know all of this.
Okay, so I just
And
wanted-
we're going to repave that road
Great.
next year. We're also getting money that was given by Sue Kelly for Oak and Barry.
Right.
That wasn't spent to be included in the Sue Kelly money for Mearns Avenue.
That's what I was gonna tell you.
That'll all be done through our congressman. That's where I have to go for that.
Great, yeah. But David Church did say there was another way through, and I gave Trustee Alward a contact with the Orange County Planning Department.
Yeah, I gave you that.
Yeah, so it's there, through the planning department, it's there, it's ready, the money's been sitting at the county. Also, I wanted to thank Assemblyman James Skoufis for securing the $125,000 grant and all for the rehab of Borough Park. I wanted to thank the committee members.
Wait a minute now. You say 120, and the paper was 140.
140, excuse me, 140, excuse me. It was supposed to, he increased it, thank you for the correction. It was 125 originally, and it got increased to 140.
That's
but-
ASIA money. We're
Yeah,
going to try to get
Trustee Murphy and Trustee Livesey. I wanted to thank also Jim Moglin, who's here, Aaron Falk, Tyrone King, Ned Copold, Kathy Keene, and Ann Molina, who were on the committee, for their hard work. This grant is a great asset to the village and to our residents, and I can't wait to see the work start happening.
Well,
So-
that's going to be the issue. It's a DASNY grant.
Yeah, I know where it comes from.
Well, can I finish? Mm-hmm. I can finish? Okay. The DASNY money will probably not, and Charlie knows this too. It's not going to come next year. And folks are wanting and thinking that the park is going to be renovated. And
It takes a year.
It takes a couple of years before that DASNY money will come.
I've
So-
seen some of it come out within a year, as long as everything gets put through in a timely manner. I have in the past 6 years, I've seen some of them come through the year. Some of them are longer, some of them are less straightforward. But I have seen them come through within 1 year from the point of filling out the project.
It would be great if it could be pushed.
It would be, yeah. And the Assemblyman will work on pushing that, because he does that with all of his grants. So I just wanted to thank him for that. And then, I think that's it, the salt shed.
I have a question. So this DASNY grant, is that gonna pay, does anybody know if that's gonna pay for the architectural drawings and the engineering drawings that we're gonna need? Or does the village have to pay for those services? Does anybody know that?
The committee decided how the money was going to be spent.
Well,
and
none
I
of it
don't-
was towards those
I don't think
things.
anything, they didn't
So
put anything
the village
towards-
residents are gonna have to pay for the architectural drawings and the engineering?
You don't necessarily need architectural drawings, we need an engineer. Well, you need the architectural drawings for some projects, yes, not for all, not for
Well,
the
we're doing the
entire.
bathrooms.
Yeah, the bathrooms, you will need that.
Correct.
You'll need
So-
engineering.
So the village engineer will have to pay for that. So we have to make sure that's in our budget next year.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know that. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Did you want to say?
No.
Something to say? Okay, yes.
Martha Allward, Highland Falls. Just to be brief, I've lived here since 2017. On our block alone, there have been 4 houses rehabbed within the past couple of months. This is not a derelict village. Even driving around, even the houses that I see that are empty are not horrible. This is not a ghost town. People are trying hard. Talking about bank-owned properties, there's a property that my son and I looked at. The exterior of it is fine. The bank listed it at $99,000. My son was looking at it as a flip. It's a big house. The property looks fine. The bank won't let it go. Even though they listed it at 99, they want closer to 300. The man that lived there was elderly. He ended up out of the area, either in a home or he might have passed on by now. He owed almost 300 on the house, so they're not, even though they listed it, so it's not really a village problem, as the mayor said. when the banks own something, the banks control it, and you can't always fight them, and it's kind of depressing for people who want to flip. There's a house at the end of my street. It went from the worst hole you could imagine to magazine quality. I mean, it's beautiful.
I happen to know that one and have been inside, and that particular gentleman, he has a cousin also, they're buying homes. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
something very brief when
Yeah.
you're done.
It's,
Good.
anyway, this is a good place to live.
Right.
I have some fairly expensive little garden things out, and they're not Christmas tree shop. Nothing's ever been bothered. I'm right on the street. It's not a bad place. Sometimes people are slobs, and that's gonna happen. I don't care if you live in Saddle River, you're gonna have that. So, I don't like it to sound like this is a bad place. One idea I have for saving some money, very quickly, is stop sending the street sweepers up the middle of the street, which does absolutely no good, because the road, when you drive on a road, all the debris goes to the curb, cars are at the curb, so they drive up the middle, back and forth. It doesn't do much good, unless you might suggest that the cars come off one street, like you do for a snowplow, you know, and then do the outside. Going up the middle of the street, you won't find the debris. The debris is at the curb. And the third thing, very briefly, I am so glad consolidation is coming up. I am tired of the high taxes. I'm tired of talking to people who say, oh God, when I get done with work, I'm moving south. We can't have that. We're never going to have the quality that we're looking for if everybody wants to get in and go south, because our taxes are freaking ridiculous. The only taxes I don't mind paying are water and sewer. I want to keep my water, and I don't want the sewage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jose Sierra on 65 Center Avenue.
Jose, I'm sorry, can you just lift that microphone?
There's a lot of rain coming, there's more rain coming in the forecast. Unfortunately, I have to maintain this property. I'm kind of at a loss of words here. I kind of feel like you guys want to do the right thing, but your hands are tied or you're being told not to. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it's right that the village has a right to know that this could all be fixed at a reasonable price. If it's not fixed, I don't understand why the village would want to spend money on attorneys. I don't know why the village doesn't want to fix the inside of my house, knowing that if they don't fix the inside of my house, that it's going to cost the village a lot of money in attorneys. It's going to cost the village a lot of money to reroute that pipe from the top of Snyder Avenue all the way down Center Street. And we're not talking 50,000, 60,000, we're talking a few 100,000. Why the village doesn't want to fix this amount, and would rather spend a larger amount rerouting that water, I'm not sure why. I'm just here to put it on record, and that the people in Highland Falls should know that this is going to be a very big price to pay. And the only person here is going to win, one person is going to lose, and that's going to be the village taxpayers. The only person who's going to win will be the firm that has to defend the village on something that they're clearly wrong on for the past 4 years. So I just wanted to put that on record and let the village know that. I don't know what's stopping them from doing the right thing, but it could be, we all know this, a $100,000 fix, or it could be a $400,000 or $500 fix, $400,000 or $500,000 fix. Because we all know that at the end of the day, if we end up going to court, it's going to cost the village a lot of money in attorneys. If the village does win and a judge says he does not want to pay for the damage inside the house, I can just turn around and say, please do me a favor and remove your pipe from my property. So you will still have to fix my property, and now you will still have to reroute that water from the top of Snyder Avenue all the way down. And we all know that there's plenty of houses that have other damage up there that are not stepping forward for that. So I just wanted to put that on record, that the taxpayers should know that this is going to cost them at least $250,000 and more for them to reroute that pipe. So I just wanted to put that.
Where are we from when we met up there?
I believe that a license has been signed to allow the village engineer to create a plan, which was a requirement by the property owner.
So what that means, so not that you need me to tell you what that means, but where we're at is Like the attorney said, a license was signed.
Right.
Now and the attorney has been notified that the license has been signed. The license, what the license does is, it allows him, because it was signed by Mr. Sierra, to go on the property and draw plans.
Okay.
Am I right? I just want to make
That's
sure.
correct.
And what
That's
is the
correct.
time in that? Is there a time, or is it?
You would have to ask Pat. I think he was directed to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying for Mr. Sierra, just so he has more
Well, once the
knowledge of.
plans are signed, or once the plans are created by the village engineer, which was, again, a reasonable requirement by the property owner, then those plans will be given to the property owner to look at, and hopefully at that point, the village will be permitted, either through a temporary license or an easement, to rectify the problem in terms of the height itself.
We haven't talked about the easement yet.
Well, I think we did.
We've surfaced it, but we really need to make sure there's going to be an easement.
Yes, we did discuss that with the
Right.
property owner when we met with
When we
him
were
on
up
the
there.
property. And he does have a copy of the proposed easement.
Right, so, I mean, I think we're where we're supposed to be after we met last week.
Does it, by you guys, the village or whoever, coming to my house and at least looking at the damage inside the house, I don't think that says, hey, the village is taking responsibility for that. The fact that in 4 years that I've been to multiple boards and not one time in 4 years has anybody come to say, hey, listen, we have an issue and it's our issue. So yes, the village has denied responsibility for the past, but there is water coming out of 2 sides of my basement currently. So that means that I am going to be calling a contractor to come down and look at it for current damage. So like I just said, it just keeps getting uglier and uglier and uglier because of that. In the last meeting, you have to understand the reason I put August 8th as the deadline for to have an understanding before I fill the hole was because the last time I was talking, the village attorney got very loud and told me that I had a choice. I can either accept it or not accept it. I don't want to get in a pissing match because if I don't accept it, it's you guys who are complaining about higher taxes, they're going to pay for that. So I do have a choice to not accept it. And if you look at the video, you see that she was very aggressively talking, and I just waited my turn to talk and I spoke. So all I'm saying is that I have current water coming in my house now. My basement has never had 1 day dry in 4 years. So because the village does not have that, the village does not have the opportunity to come in and has not given me the opportunity to show them what's going on, the village can't be upset if I fill my hole, because it's my hole, it's my damage. If I don't fill that hole, I got more damage coming, and you already said very clearly that you don't intend to pay for the past damage. The past damage, if we push this, it's gonna just get ugly on both ends. I'm hoping at this point, by me saying this, that we can sit down in a private meeting, excuse me, in a private meeting, if we could sit down privately and just have a talk among the board members and the lawyers, that's fine. I think there could be a middle ground here before this escalates, because if it escalates and I put my foot down, then I'm just gonna let the whole thing. I've already waited 4 years. We could tie this up in another 4 years in court where the village will spend an astronomical amount of money, way more than what the village will spend fixing it. So that's where I stand as the homeowner of that property. So whenever I hear from you guys, thank you. Thank you again.
Anything else? Excuse me, yes.
So, good evening, Jim Modlin, Highland Falls. 2 comments, one Chamber of Commerce related, one citizen related. On the Chamber of Commerce, I'd just like to say I think it's a great idea that you're going to be singling out and talking about a business each month, so appreciate that. The new yoga studio that's coming into town, they're having, as she mentioned, they're having a grand opening this Friday, starts at 4 o'clock. Part of that is going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony at 4:30. that the Chamber of Commerce is going to be putting on for that. And Mr. Mayor or any trustee, if you would like to be part of that, if you'd like to make some comments, be part of the grand opening, part of the ribbon cutting, please let me know, and I'll definitely make sure I get you on the agenda. It'll be a short little program, stuff like that, but I know the owners would appreciate that if you could fit that into your schedule. So I appreciate that. From a citizen perspective, to what Trustee Alward was talking about in terms of the transparency associated that the board is wanting to do with looking at consolidation. Again, I commented about that last time. Just want to acknowledge that I think that's a great idea. It's my understanding, based upon things that have been said before in previous meetings, that there's going to be a committee, a consolidation committee set up. I'd just like to ask and request that I be considered to be part of that committee. I'm very interested in it. I have a lot of questions about what it means or what it doesn't mean, and I think I might be able to bring a nonpartisan aspect to it. So as you're putting that together, I don't know if it is put together yet, but if it isn't, as you're thinking about that, just like to offer that up.
I'm putting it together, but thank
Okay.
you. Anything else?
Thank you much.
You have something?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
Lonely Hill, Highland Falls. I actually missed because of all the audio. I was actually at a friend's house, and you couldn't get higher hair over what she was saying, so whatever you were talking about, very few people really got to hear the complaint of what's going on. That's here nor there. But my question to you is about the grant that you had mentioned about the businesses at small development, meeting.
What grant?
Well, you were talking about the money, $550,000. Is that for businesses or?
It's for $500,000, and it's for businesses on Main Street, and it's to remove paint that was used to cover brick.
Okay, and is it just the scope of Main Street? Because just to flip back, I don't know, I've been there 10 years, so I think in 2010, the Rice, I forget her name, that was in charge of a community development program that we were all filled out applications, and there was going to be the possibility that we would have grant money. I have the paperwork at home if you'd like to reflect on that. So 10 years, I've never received anything from the village, so I'm just kind of wondering, as you know, I'm trying to exit, so I have people that are interested to know just how we are functioning here as a government. And I'd like to know if that would be
How
open.
government is functioning?
Yeah, they want to know, because they don't come from here, so they're kind of curious to know.
Come talk to me.
Oh,
Anytime.
I'm sure they will, Joe.
Oh, I would love to have them come talk to me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have so much, I'm the head cheerleader for this community, I have a lot of good things to tell them.
Because there was only 2 businesses that were a part of that with, I think it was Susan Rice or whatever, Roth, Susan Ross. She was in charge, Roth? Yeah, she was in charge. I think I spoke to you back 8 years ago about it. And there was 2 exceptions, which would have been Fireside, because they're on Mountain Avenue, and then me on Schneider. So I just wanted to know whether or not the scope is just strictly Main Street. So if there is an opportunity for someone after
Well,
me.
that old grant that you're speaking of, I had gotten so many grants, I can't tell you what that one was for, but this one is definitely for brick, painted brick, and the buildings have been picked.
Okay.
There's 6 or 7, and that's if the money lasts.
I understand.
The 6th one might not get done.
I get it. Like
Yeah.
I said, I've been in business, and never received an awning, haven't
Yeah,
received a
a committee-
flag.
a committee
So
had done that.
nothing was given to me in business, so I would just hope that people after me that are coming to our village would have a better chance than I had. And I have 10 years, on the record. So there's no flag, there's no awning, there's one plaque West Point gave me. I think you were a part of the chambers inside West Point when the fella gave everybody a brass.
Yeah, we had an active chamber, yeah.
Right, back in the day.
Yeah,
So that's the
back
only
in
thing
the
that
day.
I can say that, the village of Highland Falls that I've lived in for 40 years supported my business, but that's here nor there, and that's really not relevant. I was just wondering whether or not there was other monies for community development.
I will tell you all the time, I love going after grants, and we're going after many grants, and we've already gotten a lot of grants. And so we continue to look at them, whether it's water, there's some at the water department, water plant, distribution lines. Ondiora Park and Satterley Grove need new water lines, they're 1920s. The sewer plant, we're working on a grant right now, low-interest loans, not to just replace things, but to replace things that are broke, not just because we want a grant. Water, sewer, we're constantly, highway department, but Main Street is very dear to me, and you know that. And I'm constantly watching and looking for grants for Main Street.
I appreciate that. And also, while I'm here, and I have a few extra minutes, West Street is my big concern because of the high traffic, the speeders, that development, that dwelling that was placed in our little neighborhood up there. There's nobody occupying it that I'm aware of, other than the animals and the raccoons.
Which place?
It's the one on West Street, the development.
Oh, they're occupied.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen any
To
cars
some-
in there.
Whether they're
but
all occupied or some are, but some are.
I usually see
Yeah.
workers in there.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that street, Lights Avenue, it's extremely dim, and you cannot see from the time you leave Lights clear down to Mountain Avenue, and something's got to give. The sidewalks are great, you know, but they're really high, so they're not safety-wise, if you ask me. But there's no lighting, so all the trees are hanging over what little bit of candlelight that we have out there.
On West Street?
No, on
Clytes.
Clytes.
On Clytes?
On Clytes. And you should maybe take a walk up there, don't ride, just walk, and just tell me what you think. So it's become animal sanction up there, you know, it's a kingdom up there. There's everything from raccoons to cats to dogs to wild coyotes. You can't see them until you're in their domain because it's so dark. So they feel that they have more rights to the streets than we do. So a lot of people are in fear, as myself included. And then the only other question I had that came to me was, are we considered in the Village of Highland Falls, and I'll put this same question to the town, are we considered a sanctuary city? Because I received an email from a woman with 5 children that's coming from Jersey City, but apparently there's some perks, some incentives. Being a sanctuary, she has 5 children, they don't speak English, so she's concerned about our school system. Do we have enough English teachers? I don't know, because I don't go to the meetings, I have no children or grandchildren in our school system. So I would just like if one of you could tell me, are we not a sanctuary city?
That's a real question?
Absolutely.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very
That's
much.
it. Okay.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay. Last thing I'll tell you all is that there's going to be a committee formed. It'll be local, it'll be merchants on Main Street, new merchants on Main Street, Greenway, state agencies in the Mid-Hudson, Empire State Development, the IDA, folks that I'm gathering to sit down and come up with a path forward for this community, in particular though for Main Street. It'll consist of downtown merchants and individuals interested in the success of Main Street and our village. The purpose is to maintain and enhance vitality for downtown. So there'll be, this is going to be a very, very interesting committee in that these folks hold the purse strings for dollars, grants, and they're doers. And I'm excited about the first meeting, which has not been planned yet, but it'll probably be sometime in September. More to come on that for the community. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain, I would like to go into executive session on a legal matter with our attorney here. If I could motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
trustee Lizzie, second by trustee Ramus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I would like to thank Richard Perry from the town board for being here, taking notes. I see it.